Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. You're looking at some freshly sandblasted parts. I got these done yesterday, and basically you just flopped here on the bench. A tough day sandblasting yesterday. Had a hard time getting that big diesel started in the cold weather, and it took a while, and there was so much grime on these parts that we ate up a lot of sand and went through a lot of fuel, but I flopped them here last night, and here's where they sit. And you can see it's good clean white metal. And if we zoom in here on this transmission, you can see the actual date, 1/13/1951. So we know that's the original transmission for this 3A. And we got the steering box done and the brake drum, and if we come over here, we got the bell housing done, and the axles are nice clean white metal. And I didn't think the primer was going to show up in time, so I was going to preserve these with some rust preserver. And I just want to show you guys something in case you sandblast something and you know you're not going to prime it right away. Here's a product that I use, non-flammable rust inhibitor from the Bill Hirsch company. And I'm not associated with those guys in any way, but I like some of their products. And you take that stuff and you put on freshly sandblasted parts, and you could keep that stuff in your shop for years, and it won't get a bit of rust on it. And then right when you're ready to prime, you just wash it off. It's wonderful stuff. And I didn't think the primer was going to get here in time, so I was going to do that, but primer showed up yesterday, and I'll show you that next. We're trying something a little bit newer, and it's supposed to be better than what I've been using, so it's going to be the first time we're shooting it, and I'll get that out and show you what it is. But everything is right down to clean white metal. I shot this with single aught sand. That's the coarse stuff. It's just basically industrial quartz. Some people call it silica sand, but it cleaned everything up nice. There was just inches of junk on here between grease and dirt, and these guys must have done some concrete work with this Jeep, because there was concrete all over, hardened up concrete on the front and rear end. I don't know what they were doing, but it's clean white metal, and we're going to get some epoxy primer on that today. So everything needs a good cleaning. So I'm going to clean off the bench, and like I said, I just dumped it there last night. But we're going to give it a good cleaning, scrub everything out, scrub these tubes out, get everything squeaky clean inside and out, and then we'll shoot some primer. So this is where we're at right now, and I'll be back with you in just a little bit. Okay guys, here's the same part you just saw sandblasted, and I've got everything untaped and the rags out of everything, and they just took their first trip through the parts washer. I use mineral spirits in my parts washer, and this first wash is just a quick wash to get most of the sand out, and we're going to let them dry, and then after this we'll blow any remaining bits of stuff out of there, and we'll give them a good wash down in acetone, let those dry again. And I'm going to show you that new epoxy primer I'm using, and they've got a special way of using that, and you got to follow their directions real close. But this is what the parts look like. They're 99% of the sand is out of them, and we take each piece in its most broken down state and wash it out real good. And this is just the way I do it. Some guys prefer to clean them first and then sandblast them, and sandblast them as an assembly so nothing can get in, but I don't like to do it that way. I like to break everything down, clean everything up, and then put it back together. So let's take a look at that epoxy primer, and I'll explain to you a few key things on that. Okay, here's the epoxy primer we're going to shoot this time, and this is made by Southern Polyurethanes. And again, I'm not affiliated with these guys, but I've been hearing such good things about them that I'm going to try their primer. If you were following along, you saw in my 3B body build that I was using the BASF line of epoxy, the RM brand, and that's good stuff. I really like it, but I'm giving this a shot. And this is a 1-to-1 mix, so you get 2 gallons of sprayable material out of that, which is wonderful. But you've got to keep the temperature up, 65 degrees. Your part needs to be at 65, the material needs to be at 65, and you need to keep 65 degrees for 24 hours after that. So a little tricky for some guys in the cold areas. I just throw some more wood in the stove and it keeps it nice and warm and dry in here. And one of the other things with these guys is they don't want you to clean your parts with lacquer thinner or acetone, anything like that. So they sell this waterborne wax and grease remover, and I'm going to put that on everything after it's really cleaned real good. And then you've got to let that sit for an hour or force dry it. Some guys just spray air on it, but you let that sit for an hour, then you mix up your epoxy. A little different than most. You mix it up and you let it activate. You don't spray it for 30 to 60 minutes after you mix it. So whole different world here, but you know, if you follow the directions, I'm sure it's going to go okay. And the good things about these guys is they have white, gray, black, and they also have red oxide epoxy primer. So anybody wanting to do a super authentic restoration and put the red oxide primer, you don't just have to use enamel or something like that. You could get the epoxy. So that's what we're using, and I'll show you that as we spray it. And let me take you over here to the axles. I still got to wash the axles out. We'll get those flushed out. We'll get the tubes cleaned. There's that little vent hole that I was talking about in the last video. When you're greasing your bearing over here, and the bearing, you don't have to grease it like crazy. You know, a couple pumps, maybe a year if you're driving a lot, will do it. But when you see grease come out of that little hole, you know you're full. Don't put too much. You don't want to blow your seal in, and you don't want grease oozing out onto your brakes. So that's that hole. I guess a lot of stuff here. And let me flip this over. Well, this is your rear end, and there is your vent hole. And make sure that's clear. If that gets clogged up, you got no way to vent the rear axle, and you'll start pushing oil and grease out of, you know, onto your brakes. It'll come out of the pinion seal there, and guys wonder why, when everything's in good shape, why they're still getting oil pissing out of everything. Make sure that vent is free and open. You know, stick a drill in there or something. Make sure that's not covered up with mud or grease or anything. Another option, if you're going through water a lot, is to plug that one up and drill one into your cover like that. And on the front and the rear end, if you wanted to, you could bring a hose up, you know, from this vent, and bring a hose up in the front, you know, into the engine compartment, and bring the back one way up if you're going through water. And that'll keep you vented. And there's just so many times I see guys that can't stop an oil leak, and their vents all clogged up. You just build in pressure, and you're gonna push gear oil out of everywhere. So just something to be aware of. Little things like that could sometimes help you out. So we'll get these flushed out. We've got this pile of parts, and we'll start shooting some primer soon. And I won't be able to show you that process, but when I shoot that primer, they recommend a 1.4, 1.5 tip. I've got my gun set up with a 1.5 tip, 1-to-1 mix, and when you see it next, I don't know if it'll be in this video, but when you see it next, everything will be in black epoxy primer. And Vin is coming next week with some parts, all the transmission parts, all the transfer case parts, the steering gear parts, some axle bearings, just about everything we need to start putting it together. I'm going to see him sometime between Christmas and New Year's, and when you see everything again, it will be black epoxy with a pile of parts sitting on a bench, and I'll show you step by step how we get everything put back together again. Hey guys, I was just adding some more mineral spirits to my little wash area over there, and a long time ago I got this tip from an old guy at a body shop. Basically, I just cut down the center of an empty can, cut across the bottom and across the top, and fold the edges in, and come in here and flatten them out. And you got yourself a nice little parts tray there. If you keep the cap at the top there, when you lay it down, you could even put some liquids in there, and if you had to do anything. But they make great parts trays. Throw your nuts and bolts in there. They sit on a shelf real nice, and just a way to recycle a can into a nice little tray. You guys probably already seen that trick 1,000 times, but maybe there's some guys out there that have never seen it and could start recycling their solvent containers. So just something I wanted to show you. They make handy little trays when you're disassembling things for nuts and bolts. But that's all. We'll catch you in a little bit, and I'll show you what's happening next. Hey, we're kind of all over today on the video. A little bit of Jeep work, a little bit of sawmill work, a little bit of sandblasting, a little bit of everything going on right now before I take a couple days off for Christmas. Found a couple more blocks there. I'm waiting for one piece of set rack, and I believe I found it, and just waiting for the guy to confirm he has it. And as if I didn't have enough trouble yesterday with that sandblasting and compressor, got out there again today. I took the big propane weed burning monster torch out there and heated up the incoming air into that big diesel compressor, and heated up the injector lines and stuff, and heated up the intake charge, and it didn't take me too long to get it started, and got all the rack sandblasted and a couple odd pieces that I needed, and just starting to put some red lead primer on everything, and we'll let that dry while it's feels like it's 100 degrees in here. We're getting it warm for the epoxy primer, but pretty warm in here right now, so everything's going to dry nice. And I was able to make a big load of sawmill parts that I needed. Still unloading stuff out of my truck, but it's going pretty good. Just down to one more piece that I need, and we'll have all the set beam and carriage stuff that we need. And one thing that I need to do, I need to make about 100 of these bolts, and these go down in the track in that recess. They go down in there like that so that the pinion gear doesn't hit them. And I'll show you a couple different things that I tried. I need a longer bolt than that. That's an original bolt. I'll make the same size head, but I need it longer to go through our 6-inch steel that we're using. Okay, here's some dies I made for our heading vise here. I see some other dies in there. I made that set, and the original bolt is 7/16. I'm making them out a 1/2 inch because some of those holes in the rack are a little big, but and then that fits right down in there. And I gave it one heat. This is just a Green River heading vise, you know, foot operated vise and stuff, but I gave it one heat with a 1/2 inch stuff, and the head came out terrible. I don't like it. I could do it in 2 heats, but since I got to make 100 of them, I don't want to go that way. So I'm going to show you another tool I got that should make these faster. Okay, if anybody's ever seen anything like this, I would love to hear from you. I've never seen another one, and I don't know anybody that's got one. It's got the Ingersoll Rand early logo on it. They tell me that some offset dies went over here. There's just a bunch of junk on the table. But this is the end I'm concerned with. This is a pneumatic tool, and I was just testing it out the other day. You put air in there, flip the lever, and when you move this arm, this whole head comes slamming down, grabs your work in there. I think I got a set of dies in there for just some square stock that I got with the machine, and then this guy just starts hammering like there's no tomorrow. And the guy that I got it from got it out of the New Haven Railroad, and he said they were making railroad track bolts. I'm not exactly sure what kind of stuff they were making, but I got a whole bunch of dies with it, and it hammers real good. And I have a set of dies which I'll show you, which has never been machined, and that's what I'm gonna use to make these bolts here. I'm gonna machine them, stick them in there. That will come slamming down on there and hold the stock, and then this will hammer while it's hot, and it'll forge it fast, and I don't think I'll lose so much heat like I was in the heading vise. But if anybody's ever seen anything like this, I can't find any information on it. I can't find any paperwork on it out on the internet. It says IR 55-16 over there, and over there it says IR 50 144, and I don't know. This was again from the guy I got it from. He said this was the smallest of 3 in the railroad shop. This was the smallest. There was a medium size, and then he said there was one huge that they couldn't even get out of the building. It was so big, and they were for forging in a railroad shop. Railroad spikes. I don't know exactly what they were doing with it, but it works real good, and we're gonna make the new die and make all these bolts for the sawmill with it, and I'll show you that as it happens. But again, if anybody has any information on that, I would like to at least see a picture of one or something, just to figure out what other uses it had. So that's what's coming up next with that. And like I say, we're hitting on a lot of things today, just kind of filling time while parts are drying. We're putting some red lead on other parts, and then jumping back and doing some epoxy priming, and you know, kind of crazy day, but we're making things happen. All projects are moving forward, and I think this might be the end of it. And I guess you'll see me. I don't know if I'll get another one in before the holiday, but if I do, we'll catch you then. If not, have a good holiday, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Okay, thanks for watching.